Alex just won our Set 6 release tournament. This deck profile, Lord Slug, new Slug and Tug deck. He's hyped. He's mean, he's green. He's going to run you through it.
All right. So, so I played the Lord Slug leader. Front side, it's like Vegeta crit. You take a life, get crit for the turn. When you awaken, you can draw 2. That's very important with this deck with hand control, and especially with his backside effect. His backside effect being that you draw a card when you attack, and you can send a card from your hand to the drop to make your opponent send one to the drop. And that can be oppressive later when we go with the rest of the list. For the list, for the extra cards, I played 4 Shocking Death Ball. It's overall just a great negate. Being able to, in this deck, you tap out a lot, and just always having access to being able to negate attacks when you're at 5 life and they try to pressure you with Double Strike, and protecting yourself is really important. Shocking Death Ball also works with, I play 3 copies of the BCC Frieza, and those work together in the early game very well in putting very early pressure. For a 5th negate, I play at 1 Sacrifice, and that's more just to be able to have access before having Sparking with Shocking Death Ball. And again, same reasoning. You're trying not to drop below 4 life too quickly. For our tournament, I played 4 Preemptive Strike. Usually I play 3, but at our local, a lot of people play red decks, and I was trying to avoid Chain Zeno as much as possible. And it also helped in a baby matchup that I played, trying to bust up his pieces and all the Union Absorb and all that. I played 2 Kami Global Unifier. It's also just good against decks that are trying, since you're trying to control their hand and take their hand down, a lot of decks try to swarm the board instead to get the cards out of their hand. But if they do that, they're playing right into your Kami, and you wipe the board and then continue to eat their hand. For the super combos, I play the 4 of the new Paragus super combo. It's actually probably my favorite super combo in the game. I think it's better than Hoi. You don't have to discard first. You get to draw, you get to see cards, and then warp afterwards. Any green leader should probably be playing that super combo. I played 4 of the Tenacious Spirit Sun Gohan. More or less, it was for just as a 1-drop draw. I had one matchup I played against the red Frieza Prism deck, and being able to tap the 2 green to make him 20k and attack for crit was huge, because I was trying to play around the negates that take away 15,000 attack and would kill most of your board. So otherwise it was okay, but it only came in handy every once in a while. Probably the best new card to come out for Slug would be Wings, the morale booster. That card generates and starts all of your plays in the deck and makes it so that on turn 3 you can start to swarm the board. And your opponent, if they don't have an answer for your board, then you're pretty much golden at that point. I played 4 of the free blocker. I don't think that needs much explanation. It's free, and it helps you get your Bond 3 for your big slug later. I played 4 of the 2-drop searchers. It's just really good, and with Wings it becomes a 1-drop searcher, so turn 2 you can always play that, and you still have an energy open for a negate or anything else that you want to do. I played 3 of the Destruction Rare Lord Slug. That it's also very good with Wings, comes out for 2, and then you can also pay your 1 energy, and then you can spam out the other Lord Slug cards. What I think is the best card in the deck is the Adonic Warrior Slug's Army card. The card has critical. Whenever this card attacks, you discard a card out of your opponent's hand. And if you can spam these to the board and your opponent can't out them, it just takes residual cards, because your opponent's usually trying to block the crit and they're losing cards out of their hand repeatedly. And the card that really floods the board would be the Lord Slug Young Again. When you play that, when you have Wings, you can play it for 3, untaps an energy, so you only basically paid 2 for it. Most of the time you bring back the Lord of Destruction rare and pay 1 green, then you bring out the Warrior that discards it as crit. And once you bring those 3 cards out, it's pretty much good. And if you do it on turn 4, you still have 2 energy left, and then you can play the last card in my deck, which is the Teutonic Ambition Lord Slug, and rip another 3 cards out of their hand. And that also gives you the Bond 3 with those 3 cards on the board. And that's pretty much it for the deck. It plays a lot of 4-ofs. I'm going to mess with the ratios a little bit, but I was trying to play for the most consistent build possible and try to do that. And didn't lose anything in Swiss and won through Top Cut through best of 3. So Tau wasn't an issue for one thing. So.
All right, I got some questions for you. Just on some ratios, how many times did you play more than one of the Titanic Lord Slug in the game?
There was a couple games. It was against Janemba. I actually played. I played Young again, and then I can't remember if I went back to back. I think I played Young again, and then I went to the next turn and I had 4 energy, and I actually evolved and then evolved again against Janemba and ripped 6 cards out of their hand, and it was just over for them. It just wiped the game out. So it didn't happen very often, but when it needed to happen, it was there. Otherwise, it's a really easy early charge. It's more, I wouldn't say it's a win more card, but I don't know. It's pretty good.
Did you ever think in like fine tuning the deck that you cut it down to like 3?
Probably, yeah, that's possibly. Like, it could be if I can find something else that I want to play in that something different. I could see myself cutting a preemptive, the Teutonic Ambition, the Big Slug, and maybe even a Gohan, and trying to plug in different stuff, and maybe the Sacrifice. But I thought the Sacrifice worked okay, but it could definitely change.
Yeah, I was definitely going to ask about the Sacrifice because you are a tempo-based deck.
Yep.
And you do try to do a lot of your damage turns 3 and 4 if you curve out correctly. So did you find yourself needing that many negates?
I found it really interesting that not having enough for sparking, because it is this hand control deck. Sometimes you get a hard time getting the sparking in there, and people coming at me with like triple strike when I'm at 5 life, and needing to have that negate. And it was very important because it just kept you at 4 life. So it was very situational. Any bad card that you have in the deck, you can use the Lord Slug's Awakened side just to discard your bad cards that you don't need. And it counts as a neg 1 for your opponent. So it were overall, even if you don't have the best hand, it isn't the worst thing in the world.
So going for, I guess the biggest question I have is how come no Champas?
That's definitely a card that could go in here. I had it in early testing, but then I kept finding myself never being able to combo with it early and like effectively. I was always tapping out for my searchers and wings and everything else. And I don't know. I might go back into testing before this weekend in Chicago.
Okay. Did you want to talk about your matchups at all?
Let's see. I'm trying to remember. I played against Bojack, played against Pirates. I played against Janemba, Baby, the Frieza Prison deck. I played in the finals, played against Pan. And I can't remember my other matchup, honestly. But I only lost 1 game all day. And I lost against the Frieza Prison deck game 1, and I came back game 2 and 3, citing Father Son Kamehameha, and you just wipe out that Frieza deck. You just hold negates and then hit that thing, and then they just can't come back.
So what was would you say the Prism deck was your hardest matchup throughout the day, or?
I would say it was only the hardest matchup because it's unwinnable game 1. You should almost pick up game 1 if you don't play outs to the big Frieza. Unless you get the best hand to be able to take their deck out. But I didn't obviously get that. And he won die roll, and it was just like that.
So what was your easiest matchup?
Eevee's easiest matchup was Pirates, Bojack. That was by far the easiest matchup. They can't refill their hand, and you just can destroy them like that. And Janemba was also very, very easy for this deck. To me, it felt like for the Janemba player that it was unwinnable.
All right, man. Well, congrats on the tournament win, and hashtag Slug and Tug.
Slug and Tug.